seen some of the pros carrying their rice cookers with them to events. I mean, it does seem a bit extreme and probably quite expensive when it comes to excess luggage. But if you have ever experienced tummy issues mid-race, I expect at that moment you would have happily said, I'll pay a bit extra if it's going to give me something that will solve that problem in the future. Well, I've got some good news, because there are actually several things you can do that don't involve taking a rice cooker with you to a race that will help avoid any mid-race tummy situations, and we're here to share those tips. Before we delve into the do's and the don'ts, I want to just take a moment to look at why the stomach might be more sensitive on race day. Well, you know those deep belly sort of nerves that you feel on race morning? They're a good thing, because it means that the race you're doing matters, you're excited about it, and you will start to feel the adrenaline pumping and your heart rate rising. Now, this is some stress response coming from your body, and with that, it will release the hormone cortisol. There is sadly a negative effect of cortisol on your stomach, because it tells your body to get ready for that fight or flight, which means it's directing the blood to your muscles, but away from your stomach. Well, this initially sounds great, as you're getting more blood flow to those muscles, which means they're getting more oxygen and more energy that they need. However, with the blood going there, it means it's being directed away from your stomach. And when your digestive tract is getting less blood flow, it's going to trigger your stomach to think it needs to get rid of some of its contents, which can result in maybe the urge to be sick, or even worse, a sudden urgent need to run to the bathroom. Beyond the psychological effect that triggers those hormones, there is the mechanical effect, which comes on especially in running races, or obviously the run towards the end of a triathlon. And you're going to be going up and down, which is shaking your digestive system whilst also putting pressure on it from the surrounding organs. Now, this might all sound rather depressing, because realistically there's not much you can do about your nerves, and there's basically nothing you can do about the effect of running hard. However, there is some good news here, because you can control what goes into your digestive tract, and what you eat and when will have a huge impact on how your stomach behaves. There are a few obvious foods that you want to avoid. First up, race morning itself. Now, if you're a regular coffee drinker, you might think, well, I'm going to carry on having my coffee because my body is used to it. But remember, we've already talked about adrenaline, and adrenaline is going to cause you to wake up and be pretty alert. So hopefully you're not going to need that caffeine hit. And if you are a coffee drinker and you go for quite a milky coffee, just be aware that milk can add to the gastrointestinal problems. And now on to fibre. We're always being told, aren't we, that you need to include plenty of fibre in your diet to be healthy. Well, not on race day, or in fact, a few days prior to race day, as fibre is just helping to bulk up and add volume to your food, which you don't need, but also it's designed to aid bowel movement, something we are definitely trying to discourage. And if you do have a stomach that's very prone to being sensitive, I would recommend significantly reducing the amount of fibre you take on a few days beforehand. And this is where the pros come in with their rice cookers, because white rice is really easy to digest and it's high in carbohydrate. And on top of fibre, try to avoid too much in the way of dairy, fatty foods and alcohol. And it is okay to be sensible. You can still have a glass of wine the night before if that's going to help you relax, and it's something you usually do. But be careful not to have any more than that, because it can just cause your stomach a little bit of upset. And now these final 2 points, I think are almost too obvious to mention, but it still surprises me what you will see people eating the night before a race. First up, avoid spice. I think enough is said on that point. But beyond that, just make sure you're not eating anything you've not eaten before. And if you do have to eat out on your meal the night before, then try and book a restaurant which you know will serve food that's fairly plain. Italians are usually the most popular option when it comes to that. And on the point of not trying anything new, race day is essential. Make sure that you're either taking your own nutrition that you've practiced with at home, or if you are using the race day nutrition, you have thoroughly practiced with that too. On to the less obvious factors, and there are a few less commonly known issues that can still have a really dramatically negative impact on your digestive system and therefore on your race day. Let's start with hydration. I think you're probably well aware that nailing your hydration is key when it comes to performance, but did you know that getting it wrong can also really affect your stomach? If you overhydrate, then mild symptoms can be bloating and just not being able to actually absorb the nutrients you're taking on because your stomach is so full of liquid. But at the more severe end, it can end up in nausea that might actually make you be physically sick, and also it can lead to, well, those urgent trips to the bathroom. And although it might not sound logical, at the other end of the spectrum, dehydration can also lead to stomach issues. Basically, it's anything that's upsetting that balance within your stomach. But worryingly, diarrhea can actually be a symptom of dehydration, and that's going to cause you to dehydrate more. So if you do find yourself in this situation, you need to make sure you prioritize rehydrating as quickly as possible. Getting your nutrition right on race day is always going to be tricky, and you want to optimize the amount of carbohydrate you can take on, and it comes in various forms. Fructose is one form of sugar that you do want to be slightly wary of, as it can cause sensitive stomachs to bloat and potentially have other issues as well. And you find it quite high in fruit juices and fruits and some energy drinks as well, so make sure you just check the label on that one. But when it comes to carbohydrates generally, you need to make sure that obviously you're taking on enough, but you're not overdoing it, because any excess carbohydrate is going to sit in your stomach and your stomach won't be able to digest it, and as a result, that will cause issues. And as a very general recommendation, 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour will work for most people. Some can manage a bit more, but it is very individual, so you'll need to experiment with how much your body can absorb. And if you're opting for a carbohydrate drink, then you want to make sure that you actually check the concentration of that carbohydrate to hydration, because if you're then using that to hydrate as well, you might well find that in order to reach the amount of hydration you need, you're going to be having too much carbohydrate. So something else to be aware of. We've got climate. I mean, we're lucky. Triathlons tend to be in nice sunny places, and that means it's a bit warmer, so your body is naturally going to need to take on more hydration and more electrolytes, and this can be putting extra stress on your digestive system if you're not used to it. The same with your actual nutrition, because if you're hotter, your heart rate's going to be higher, and it just puts more stress on the system overall. And then finally, we've got painkillers. In particular, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories such as ibuprofen can really affect your stomach. So if you can, try to avoid during or before a race whenever possible. If you do suffer with stomach issues, well, I feel your pain, and sadly, you're not alone. It's actually quite common in endurance sports, especially in running and triathlon. But hopefully, these strategies will be something you can experiment with and try to get to the bottom of any issues you have. And if you've been through this journey and you found what works for you, well, please do share it, because we're all learning all of the time. You can do that in the comments section below, and good luck for your next race. Fingers crossed your stomach behaves. If you've enjoyed it, give us a like, and remember, you can click on that globe and get all of our GTN videos.